This is the first conversation my mother and I have ever had about me having a mental illness.
My name is Adriana Drummond.
So what is your experience with mental illness?
My mother has mental illness. She's had depression. Now she's just crazy.
My nonna has been a crazy person since I can remember, and I know that she suffered very badly with depression, and that was something that was brought up a lot, when I was in a bad stage, that, my mom or my brother would be like, "You're just like Nonna." And Nonna is a train wreck, and everyone thought that she was a train wreck, and so when people said that to me, they're like, "You're a train wreck, and you're not going to get better because she's not better." Does it run in your family?
It does. My daughter was diagnosed with bipolar.
How old was she when she was diagnosed?
I think she was 12 years old.
Okay, so can you tell me what it was like at its worst?
Very frustrating for me as a parent because I didn't know what to do to make things better. I didn't know how to handle it, and I didn't know how to respond to it, so I would get angry. Instead of being understanding, I would try to be understanding, but it was too much, and I couldn't be understanding because it was over everything. Little things were big, gigantic ordeals.
That's what it's like being bipolar. And there was this thing that I always called the monster. That's them. The monster was my illness, and it was the parts of me that I knew that's not who I am. And sometimes the monster won, and I had no control over anything I was doing, and it was just the darkness.
And it was very frustrating because she was so smart, and she was a straight A student, but she didn't want to go to school. And I didn't want her not to graduate high school. But I was afraid of that would happen if she didn't go. Being bipolar makes you very intuitive about how other people feel, and being imagine trying to handle your own emotions in various situations, especially in high school where everything's tumultuous, and then being able to feel everyone else's pain all of the time. It was so extraordinarily overwhelming that I couldn't do it, And how did the school handle it? She had certain teachers that were not understanding of what was going on. And I never called the school and said, "Listen, my daughter has depression." So they didn't know what was going on. So they would see her on her desk sleeping and think that she was being lazy or being tired, and she wasn't. She was just reacting from the depression.
The deans basically sat me down one day and told me that I should drop out. But I didn't want to drop out because I knew how important school was to me, and I wasn't a bad student. I was just sick and I needed help. So I fought to be homeschooled, and I was homeschooled at the library twice a week for 2 hours.
And did you like being homeschooled?
I loved being homeschooled. It was the best thing that ever happened. I'm so glad that I did that because not having to be in an environment where I felt nothing but hostility. I was one-on-one with the teacher, and my grades went from it being in the 60s back to being in the 90s because my schoolwork was never the issue. My intelligence was never compromised. It was my ability to function as a member of society. So, were you embarrassed for anyone to know that there was something wrong with her?
Yes.
Why?
Because everyone had a regular little kid, and I had other things happening.
Did you ever try talking to your daughter about what she was going through?
I don't know. Did I? That's sad. I guess not. I guess I didn't. I thought she knew. She knew she was depressed. What was I going to say? Everything's okay? And in her mind, it wasn't okay. So that wasn't good enough.
I often got, "Don't worry, it's mind over matter," which was something I heard all the time, and I didn't know how to explain to people that when your mind is the problem, then it doesn't matter what else is happening to you because you can't trust yourself. You can't be awake and function and do things because there's no grip on reality. You don't know what is real, and you don't know what is you.
She was giving medicine, and that was trial and error to see what kind of medicines might work for her, but she didn't like the medicine.
Why didn't she like the medicine?
She told me that it made her feel like a zombie.
When I went on medication, it was probably one of the most horrible experiences I have ever been through. It was worse than actually having the illness itself. It cut off any good parts of my brain that I had left, they were gone. And it didn't make the pain or the suffering or the depression, or it didn't make anything go away. It just made me unable to physically respond the way that I used to.
Oh.
So I was still suffering. I still had depression. I still had all of these things afflicting me, but I couldn't. It's like my vocal cords were cut off. Like I couldn't say anything. It was just buried inside of me then, and it cut away the manic too, because at least that was a relief from the depression. So it was just depression. It was just misery. I wanted to die.
What was she like to live with?
I did not like her, and I love her, but I did not like her. Because it was just tiring, and everything was an ordeal. And she was scary.
How was she scary?
She would look at me like she wanted to kill me, and that's why I had to sleep with my door locked that night, because I was afraid.
Did you ever talk to her during that time? Or did you just assume that her emotions were anger?
I assumed that her emotions were anger and hatred.
The monster did whatever it wanted. You know, maybe I didn't want to be depressed. I know how beautiful it is to be alive, but the monster would just be like, you're wrong, you're worthless, you have nothing to live for, you're a mistake, everything you do is terrible, nobody loves you, you are alone, you're gonna die alone, everything you do is a fuck up, and you will never escape from that. This is all you'll ever be.
And I didn't like her that much, so I didn't really want to talk to her so much.
My mom was afraid of me. She wouldn't talk to me. Everyone, in a time that I needed to be loved the most, there was no one there.
It was a sleepless nights. Going into my room with my door locked, locking my bedroom door.
You were afraid of her?
Yeah.
Why? No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
For a minute. I don't want to talk to you.
It was like a darkness that consumed me. And I couldn't escape from it, and nobody was willing to dive down with me and help lift me back up again. And I'm grateful for that, because I wouldn't want to put that on anybody, you know, but I was alone. I was completely and utterly alone.
Now I could happily say that we are very good friends, and I love her to death, and she's a pleasure to be around. I love when she's home. She's changed so much. Are you cured?
I don't think that there's a cure for mental illness.
How did she get better?
I don't know, because she stopped taking the medicine.
Medicine is not the answer. I think it's a crutch that people try to ram down your throat, like, oh, this will get better. When you lose everything you love, all you have left is love. And I needed to get back to that place where I had that strength inside of me, that I could get better.
Well, how do you know you're better?
As much darkness there is inside of me, I also feel that there's a voice in my head that always says, it gets better. You can make it better.
You have hope
Because
for the future?
I absolutely have hope for the future. I think that all things end well. And I think that there are always going to be hard times in my life, and I think there's going to be times where I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. But I have this resilient faith in the beauty of being alive and the goodness of it, that if you don't give up, that you'll find the answers if you keep looking.
If someone does not have experience with mental illness, you just don't understand what's going on.